Hello and welcome to the Learn English Lab. I'm Mike, and today we're diving deep into something I think we all kind of connect with, and that's describing your hometown in English. We don't want to just stick with the basics, though. We really want to help you guys captivate someone with your description. And to help us get there, I've got Sarah with me. Sarah is our language expert extraordinary.
It's great to be here, Mike.
So let's jump right in. Sarah, a lot of our listeners, they really want to talk about where they come from. But sometimes they get stuck using the same phrases over and over again, like it's a big city or the weather's nice. How do we help them kind of move beyond that and really paint a vibrant picture? What's the secret?
Well, I think it's all about moving beyond those generic terms and getting specific. So, like, instead of just saying, small town, you can use more interesting words like quaint or sleepy or even historic, if that fits.
Yeah, I love that. It's like you're picking out the perfect color to really capture the mood. But sometimes I struggle with that. Like, I feel like my vocabulary isn't big enough. How do we expand that vocabulary?
Absolutely. One thing you can do is you can try to use more similes and metaphors. So instead of saying the town square is busy, you could say something like, the town square is like a beehive buzzing with activity.
Oh, wow. I could see it. I could see it now. It's like you took me right there.
Exactly. And another thing that's really helpful is to use personal memories or experiences. Think about those special places that have meaning for you. Maybe it's that old corner store where you used to buy candy as a kid, or the park bench where you had your first kiss. When you share those little stories, you're not just describing a place, you're giving it life.
Oh, that reminds me of this bakery in my hometown. It wasn't anything fancy, but just the smell of fresh bread wafting out onto the street. It takes me right back to my childhood.
Exactly. Those sensory details like smells and sounds, even tastes, they can really help your listener connect with your description.
That makes me want to go back and visit. But what about how places change over time? How do we work that into our descriptions?
That's a great point. You can really add depth to your description by mentioning how your hometown has changed. Maybe that old movie theater got turned into a cafe, or a new skyscraper was built where a park used to be. Those changes, they really show how your hometown has evolved.
Yeah, it's like looking at those layers of paint. You can see the history. What about the people, though, Sarah? How do we capture the heart of the community?
Well, you can always use general words like friendly and welcoming, but I think it's more interesting if you get specific. Talk about what people do for work, what their interests are. So instead of saying people are nice, you could say my town is full of artists and musicians, or everyone in my hometown loves to go fishing, something like that. And you can also use that phrase blank friendly to describe the atmosphere. So like family friendly if there are lots of things for kids to do, or foodie friendly if it has amazing restaurants.
Blank friendly. I like that. It's a good way to get the point across. Sometimes I try to describe things in English, but I end up sounding really formal. How do I make it sound more natural without sounding like I'm reading from a textbook,
Yeah, I understand. I think it helps if you just imagine you're talking to a friend. Don't be afraid to use contractions or everyday language, even some slang if it feels right.
So it's all about being ourselves while still being descriptive.
Yeah.
It's like the difference between reading a travel brochure and listening to a friend tell you about their awesome vacation.
Exactly.
You want to hear about those funny little mishaps and the unexpected things they discovered?
Oh, and speaking of memorable, I think it's also really important to highlight what makes your hometown special. Like maybe it's a unique tradition or a famous landmark or even something weird about the weather. Whatever it is, celebrate it.
That reminds me of this festival in my hometown. Everyone dresses up in these medieval costumes, and they have this big jousting tournament. Sounds kind of crazy, but it's been going on forever.
That's amazing. It just goes to show that every hometown has something special to offer.
It's like sharing a secret. But I think having some structure is important too, right? So we don't just ramble on.
Yeah, for sure. One way to do it is to think chronologically. So you could start by describing your hometown when you were a kid, then talk about how it's changed, and finish by describing what it's like now. Or you could organize it by theme, like talking about the different neighborhoods, or the landmarks, or the food.
I like that. It's like giving them a map to follow.
Right. And, even though we want to be descriptive, it's important to think about our audience. If they don't know anything about your town, you might need to give them some more background. It's all about finding that balance.
It's like being a tour guide, but using words instead of a map. It's like building a world with words. Sarah, listening to you talk about all this, I'm realizing describing your hometown, it's not just about sharing facts. It's like sharing a part of who you are.
You're right, it is.
It's like giving someone a little souvenir, but instead of a keychain, it's made of words and memories.
Exactly. And the best thing is, those memories will never fade.
I love that. So I guess what we've learned today is, if you want to describe your hometown, it takes a few things. You need to use vivid language. You got to tell some stories. And it helps to have a little structure.
Exactly. And remember, there's no right or wrong way to do it. The important thing is to be yourself and have fun with it.
Well said, Sarah. This has been great. I'm feeling inspired to go describe my own hometown now.
It was great to be here.
And to everyone listening, remember to embrace those things that make your hometown special. Don't be afraid to play around with language and let your love for your hometown shine through. And as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Learn English Lab YouTube channel. Until next time, happy learning. 59.